Hello and welcome back to my channel. So if this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my educational videos. So some of you, when asked to write a literature review, you simply go to the chat GPT, copy and paste what it gives you and then place it in your proposal. That's not how research works. One thing you should know is that a literature review is not about copying other people's work. It's about reading, understanding, analyzing, and then writing in your own words. So in today's video, I'm going to take you step by step on what a literature review is, why is it important in a research proposal, how to find good articles and sources, how to write and organize your literature review, and lastly I'll talk about common mistakes students make. And remember, I already have a video on how to write a research proposal, so if you haven't watched that, kindly check it out after this one. Now, what is a literature review? So a literature review is simply a summary and critical discussion of what other researchers have already studied about your topic. So think of it like this. Before you start your research, you need to know what is already known, what has been written, and what is still missing. For example, if you want to study unsafe drinking water and diarrhea diseases, your literature review will bring together what other researchers have already said about this issue. Maybe you will find studies in Zambia, in Africa, or even at global level, and then connect them. So it's not just about writing your own opinion, it's about reporting what is already written, but in your own words. Now, why is a literature review important? So a literature review is very important because it shows that you understand your topic. You cannot research something you don't understand. By reviewing literature, you get background knowledge. So it shows the gap, what has been studied and what is still missing, and that gap becomes your research problem. So it prevents duplication. You don't want to repeat the same study in the same setting unless you are adding something new. So a literature review doesn't just guide your methodology, it strengthens your proposal. So sometimes you learn how other collected data, and that can guide you. And when examiners or supervisors go through it, they see that your work is based on evidence. So now the big question is where to find good literature. So before we proceed, I just want you to take a moment and thank John in the comment section because he was the one that suggested that I make a video on how to write a literature review. So here is where many students make mistakes. So some of you just go on Google, type a question and use the first link you find. That is not the best way. So for research, you need more sources, and here are the main ones. Google Scholar. This is free and has thousands of academic articles. Use PubMed, especially for health-related studies. You can also use ResearchGate or University Library database. So if your school has access, this is the best place. You can also use World Health Organization reports, UNICEF reports, and CDC articles. So when you search, always use keywords related to your topic. For example, unsafe drinking water and diarrhea diseases in Zambia. So don't just use one article, use many so that your review is strong and balanced. Now, let's talk about the most important part. How do you actually write a literature review? So many of you struggle here, and some of you just go on ChatGPT, copy and paste, and think you are done. So in research, we don't work like that. So a literature review is not about shortcuts. It's about you finding, understanding, and summarizing what other researchers have already done on your topic. Let me take you step by step. Step 1. Start broad, then narrow down. So when writing your literature review, don't jump straight to your village or your town. Begin with a big picture. So start with the global information. For example, according to the World Health Organization 2021, about 2 billion people worldwide still drink unsafe water. Then move to regional evidence. For example, in Africa, UNICEF 2022 reported that unsafe drinking water is a major cause of diarrhea in children under 5. And finally, focus on your country or your local setting. So for example, you can say, in Zambia, the Ministry of Health 2020 showed that rural areas have the highest rates of unsafe water consumption. So by starting broad and narrowing down, you show the full picture. So from the world to your region and finally to your community. Step 2. Group similar studies together. Don't just list one study after another. It will look like a shopping list. So instead, organize your review into themes. For example, if your topic is unsafe drinking water, one group can be causes, where you will talk about poor sanitation, broken bowls, and lack of chlorine. Another group can be on effects, where you will talk about diarrhea or malnutrition. And the third group can be on solutions, where you will talk about chlorination and improved bowls. So grouping similar studies make your review neat and easy to follow. Step 3. Compare and contrast. So a big mistake students make is just saying researcher A says this, researcher B says that. That is not enough. You must show relationship between studies. For example, World Health Organization 2021 found that 30% of diarrhea cases in Africa are linked to unsafe water. Similarly, UNICEF 2022 reported that contaminated water is the second leading cause of child death in low-income countries. However, a study in Nigeria found that poor hygiene practices contributed more than unsafe water itself. And I'm sure with this good example, you've seen that here we are not just repeating what each researcher said. We are connecting them, showing agreements and differences. Step 4. Show the research gap. So at the end of your literature review, you must clearly point out what is missing. So this is very important because the gap is the reason your research is needed. For example, while many studies have looked at unsafe drinking water at a global level and in Africa, very few are focused on rural communities in Zambia. And this creates a gap which your study aims to address. So without showing your gap, your research work will look unnecessary. Step 5. Write using your own words. So here, find articles, understand the message, paraphrase in your own simple words, same ideas, but now it is in your own words with proper citation. So if you follow these 5 steps, start broad, group studies, compare and contrast, show the gap, and use your own words, your literature review will be clear and original as well as strong. Now, let's take time to talk about the common mistakes students make when writing a literature review. So this is very important because sometimes we don't even realize we are making these mistakes. So I will not only mention them, but I will also explain how you can avoid them. So the first one is copy pasting from ChatGPT or the internet. And this is the most common one. So many students make the mistake of copying direct from ChatGPT or Wikipedia or any random website. So yes, ChatGPT can help you get ideas, but if you just copy and paste, it is not your work. It also makes your review weak because you are not showing that you actually reviewed the studies. So how can you avoid this? So always use ChatGPT or Google only as a guide. So after getting the idea from Google or ChatGPT, don't copy and paste. go through it, write like you are telling a story to your classmate. So that way your literature review will be original. The second one is using only one or two sources. So some students think one or two articles are enough. No, that is not a literature review. So a good literature brings together information from many sources. So sometimes 10 to 20 or even more depending on your level. So you can only avoid this by searching widely, by using Google Scholar, PubMed, ResearchGate, or World Health Organization and UNICEF reports. So the more articles you read, the stronger your review will be. So another big mistake is forgetting to put citations. You can't just write "and safe water causes diarrhea" without showing where that information came from. So if you don't cite, it looks like your own opinion. It has no evidence. So whenever you see an idea from another researcher, cite it in the text. For example, you can write, according to World Health Organization 2020, unsafe drinking water contributes to diarrhea diseases in many low-income countries. So another one is writing opinions instead of research evidence. So many students write like it's an essay, giving personal opinions. For example, someone will say, I think water is important, and if people don't boil water, they will suffer. This is not a literature review. A literature review is not about what you think, it's about what researchers have found. So always base your writing on published reports and articles. Making the review too short or too general. So some students write 1 or 2 paragraphs and they call it a literature review. That is too short. Others just write very general information like water is life, many people need water. That doesn't count as a literature review. So take time to explain and discuss studies in detail. And the last one, not showing the research gap. So this is another common problem. Some students summarize studies well, but fail to show what is still missing. Remember, the gap is the reason for your study. So how can you avoid this? At the end of your literature review, write 1 or 2 sentences clearly pointing out what is missing. So if you avoid these mistakes, your literature review will not only be strong, but will also make your research proposal stand out. I have talked about what a literature review is, why is it important in a research proposal, how to find good articles and sources, how to write and organize your literature review, and common mistakes students make. Thank you so much for watching, and if you found this video helpful, kindly share it with your classmates and don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more tutorials like this one. See you in the next video.